Should work.
Okay. Oh, you're not on the TV yet, but you will be.
Correct. Yep.
All right.
We're recording in live.
So we will call this meeting to order. And I'm just going to read the warning just so that we're all on the same page. This is a notice of public hearing on the draft Healthy Town Plan. We're meeting tonight, November 7th at 6 p.m. at the Town Hall. The purpose of this hearing is to take comments from the public on the draft town plan so that the planning commission can consider these as it makes its final revisions prior to sending to the select. Oh, yeah, that terminology doesn't sound quite right. That's okay. The proposed town plan will replace the current town plan in its entirety. Copies of the draft can be found at the town office during business hours. Comments may be mailed to the attention of the select board. Below is a summary of the proposal, the sections of the plan, goals of the plan, demographics, economic development, housing, education, utilities and facilities, recreation and parks, health and emergency services, natural, scenic and cultural resources, agriculture and forestry, land use plan, transportation, energy, relationship to other plans, town plan implementation. There's the appendix with maps and other documents. So that's kind of the warning for tonight. The idea is that the select board hold this public meeting, receive comments from the public for us to consider in terms of the town plan. If there are things, then we would work with the planning commission. The goal, hopefully tonight, would be to get to a place where we could actually make a motion to adopt the town plan so that we can send it along to Two Rivers and their board for regional approval. Our current town plan expires, I believe it's on November 16th. And so that is the goal of the meeting, if we can get to that point, but it depends on the comments that we may receive. So with that said, open it up to the members of the public that are here and or the board for any comments that they may have on the town plan.
So I'm sorry, did you say that there is the version of the town plan that's on the website that we were supposed to compare with the old version, or are there changes?
There's been a couple of public hearings on this. The planning commission held one. There is a draft that's been at the town offices for people. That was part of the warning for people to be able to access it if they wanted.
So that.
Yeah.
So are the changes highlighted in here?
Not in this version. I don't believe they are in this version. They were highlighted in the changes for the public hearing that we had at the planning commission, which I don't, the date of that meeting, I can tell you. I'll tell you what that was. So there was a public meeting, I believe it was September 7th. I'm sorry.
I might have misinterpreted too, because the way the wording was, I thought this was a presentation of the plan and we're ready to what the changes were. I didn't come prepared in advance to know about it. So, oops.
Yeah, my apologies as well. So
the hearing wasn't it that was going to be presented?
No, I don't believe we said that there would be a presentation. So just to, I could go through kind of how we've gotten to this point, if that's helpful. Might be helpful or not, but the dates, there was a planning commission meeting on September 7th. I believe that was I'm looking here, the public hearing. They had a hearing on September 7th and there was changes that were reviewed. Actually, I was the only member that was non-planning commission at that meeting, that was warned for those. On September 15th, they transmitted that to the select board. I'm just kind of going through this timeline because it's helpful for me to remember. At our meeting on September 19th, we reviewed the draft plan. We discussed any changes. There were very minor comments and things that we had at that point. And then on September 27th, the suggestions and the edits were sent back to the select board. On the 28th, we did notice of the hearing. We ran it for 15 days for the hearing that we had. The select board meeting was on October 3rd. And then on October 17th, the select board had a hearing and meeting. And again, I'm just reading from the detailed timeline that was provided to me. I don't remember all of these days. To review the changes in the final recommendation from the planning commission. I'm looking at Greg because he's on the planning commission. Does that sound like the accurate timeline? Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm sorry, what made your last name?
Karen.
Karen,
Yeah.
okay, I know her name.
Yes.
Great. Do you know whether or not any of the substance of the section concerning the towns and parks, town forest and parks was changed at all?
I don't believe there's anything substantially changed in there. There were definitely, minor wording changes that effect. The biggest updates were around things like revising the demographics information. So looking at, the age range of population, things like that. With some sections in there that were pretty heavily in the school district because of the changes with that as it relates to it. And a few other things related to some of the other town facilities and things like that that have gone through any sort of change over the last 5 years. Substantially, I would say there were really any changes in direction for the town or changes in sort of the intent or vision. Yeah, a lot of that was done because quite often we found out pretty late in the process that the plan was expiring. And so as we went through it, and the initial intent was really just, hey, let's make sure we go through and make it update it factually as much as we can to make sure that we don't end up in a position where the town does not have a plan because there's a little bit of associated with that. And then the intent is for us to go through and do the look through a bunch of the rest of the materials and things after this gets adopted. There's nothing just from having another update a year from now. We decide.
And I think I would just thank you, Greg, for that. A couple pieces, and you may have mentioned it, but there are some pieces of the town plan that needed to be updated to reflect statutes that had changed since our previous town plan, which I believe was 8 years ago. I can't remember.
5 years ago.
5 years
ago. The new one was for 8 years.
Yeah, okay.
There's some pieces in there as well, but we started with those right around the same time. So there were some sectors in there that referred to Katrina or
Irene
and other sort of flooding incidents. Obviously, we had to ignore that a little bit to indicate the stuff happening this summer.
And the other point I was going to bring it up, and just I wanted to publicly thank the planning commission for pulling together. We as a board learned this spring, we actually didn't have a functioning planning commission. A previous chair had left and the planning commission had met for over a year, which was right around the time when we learned that we needed to have a town plan rewritten by November 16th, or our existing one had expired. So there's a lot of work that has gone into it, as I think we all know, but it's not substantial because there wasn't time to make substantial changes to it.
The plan. And I'm trying, it's been so long since I've looked at any of that stuff, but I saw the beginning that there officially be a designation of a historic district in Chelsea. It's like in the top of the street.
No, there shouldn't be anything about that. There, some of the challenges we have is looking at the plan are the sort of limitations we have physically, and we can expand the town, but then also the limitations that are there because of the historic district. With the flood zone running right through the mountains. There's some challenges there, but again, nothing is substantial change with the classification of anything or anything.
The new recommendations as far as years ago there was talk about trying to either push business development out of the center of town, so mentioning there's flood restrictions and all this, but there's not going to be planning overall goal to move the center of town out.
No, nothing like that. In fact, one of the things that we discovered as a process is that FEMA actually will be doing some remapping of those in the next few years. Don't know exactly what the timeline is for that and how we would get these additional provisions. And I don't expect that's if there's a change that it's automatically sort of designation or anything like that.
So the 2014 town plan recommends deletion of the design control district ordinance, which is so I know we're not on that was, there was no more historic district or zoning goes, so you got something.
Yeah, I was on the planning commission around that time. I remember that discussion. I can't remember what the outcome was. I think it's worth, to your question, I think it's something we as a community still, it's not in this town plan, but we still need to wrestle with having a historic village in a floodplain and what do we do about that? I think this summer's events brought that even further to a head, but that's not something that's fully thought out or recommended in this plan. From a land use perspective, Greg, maybe you can remind me, I know the previous town plan had recommended I think some commercial / industrial areas up off 113 near the Berkshire Chelsea town line. And we do have the industrial area down on the East Randolph Road, but I don't know that there was any changes.
Yeah, I don't believe we made any changes to the maps.
Yeah.
Working.
With that, is that-
Marty's having a hard time with sound, but it's working
Oh,
on my
okay.
phone. Yeah.
Any additional comments? Hi, Carrie.
I guess not kind of related, but not really. So does it impact, I know once the general plan changes, sometimes that then affects the zoning, regulations, because the zoning can sort of like going on and it wants to work together kind of thing.
Right.
So are those also going to be reviewed or is that on the agenda?
I think that's, and I don't want to speak for the planning commission, but I know as a board, we've just signed on a grant with Two Rivers signed off on to help them, have them help us with looking at our bylaws and, and kind of reviewing them and going through things, which I think, we haven't had a lot of discussion with the planning commission on that part. We would look for the planning commission to kind of take the lead on working on that with Two Rivers. Obviously, the board would be involved as needed as well.
Yeah, it's on the road, we're just trying to meet the timeline.
Yeah.
Don't
Right.
expire.
Right.
We know that.
Right. I mean, that was our number one, because if our town plan expires and from an Act 250 perspective, if we don't have a town plan that's expired, there's nothing to, from at least from that particular criteria to hold back things other than whatever may be in the regional plan. So we wanted to make sure we met that deadline. So we had a town plan in place. Kind of
That was one of our guiding principles as the board too, was without a time does not change. So that
Right,
we can
right, yeah.
accelerate the approval process.
Any other comments on the town plan? Questions or comments?
Sorry to miss the presentation.
There really wasn't a lot of presentation. This was just more about taking comments on the draft that's been out there. So. If there are not any further comments, be that, we need to adopt the town plan, and there's a draft resolution that has been, there are two actually, one in terms of adoption of the town plan, and then there's another one for the energy components and energy compliance within the town plan. And I'll just read what was provided to us as a sample. And it's titled Adoption of Town of Chelsea 2023 Town Plan and Maps. Resolution to submit 2023 Chelsea Town Plan and Maps for regional approval. Whereas the Town of Chelsea Select Board, having held the required hearing for the 2023 Town Plan and Maps and having no minor edits, moved to adopt the 2023 Town Plan and Maps. Whereas the Town of Chelsea adopted the 2023 Chelsea Town Plan and Town Maps, be it resolved to submit the 2023 Chelsea Town Plan and Maps to Two Rivers or TRORC for regional approval, which is the Two Rivers Ottaquechee Regional Commission. past the 7th day of November 2023. So that is the resolution that we have. And if there's a motion, entertain a motion.
That has to be done at your select board meeting, not at the hearing. We have to do this at the select board meeting, Karen thinks,
Oh,
not the hearing. So I think we have to wait.
I'm
Jumping the gun.
I'm 13 minutes ahead and I practiced and everything, Karen. Okay.
But it's good that people need to know what it is.
Yes. So we will,
Can I ask you a question?
Mhm.
Greg, the resolution on the energy part, was that a major change in?
The intent there was actually to give the town a little bit more leverage.
Just have to do an addition.
If anybody's trying to set up a large utility, like a solar field or cell tower.
Thank you.
But yeah, certainly the TRRC people would be better than me to explain all of the.
so Karen, I'm not sure. Just, so this would have to be at the board meeting because we don't actually have town plan on the agenda because I thought we were covering it in this meeting. So we can put it as an added item, I guess.
Let's go.
What's that?
I think it is.
Yeah. So, yeah. And then I guess because I'm practicing reading, because I've already read one, I'll read the other one. Just so that everybody's aware. The second is a resolution. It's determination of energy compliance resolution for the town of Chelsea. Whereas the town of Chelsea submits its municipal plan adopted 11/7/2023 to Two Rivers Ottaquechee Regional Commission for determination of energy planning compliance pursuant to 24 VSA 4352 subpart B. Whereas the town of Chelsea is included in the municipal plan, the enhanced energy planning requirements pursuant to 24 VSA 4352 subpart C. Therefore, it be resolved that the legislative body for the town of Chelsea requested determination of energy planning compliance from Two Rivers past the 7th day of November 2023. So just so we're all on the same page, those are things that we'll be taking up at our select board meeting. It starts in 11 minutes. Are there any other comments or questions regarding the town plan? As this is a hearing, not actually a meeting, I don't know that we actually have to adjourn.
No.
So we will consider the town plan hearing adjourned. And thank you to those that have come, and we will be starting up in 10 minutes with our regularly scheduled select board meeting. And we'll go through the agenda. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Hi, Marty. We
Hear
can hear
me?
you. We can.
We can hear you, Marty.
Are you able to hear me?
We can hear you, Marty.
Still can't hear us. She can hear us on YouTube. Issue on the VA platform that she's using. Because otherwise, like, we wouldn't have sound on YouTube, right? If these weren't actually working.
Okay, well, I think there's a slight delay, but I'm hearing you through the YouTube, and then there's like a slight delay. But as long as you can hear me, that would allow someone to participate.
Okay, thank you. No, it's one of the drive on yours. Nope.
Yeah, you do. I stole Kevin's actually.
Sorry.
Nope. All right.
There's like a 30-second, half a minute delay.
Well, that's because she's on YouTube.
She's on YouTube, right?
She can't get audio on the Google Meets,
Oh.
but I don't know if that's
Well, yeah, I
a
mean,
her
that's,
issue or, because
unfortunately, that's not something, she's reading the live stream. It takes a while to get there.
Right.
Okay.
Is she able to raise her hand or anything, Jessica, if she has comments?
Yeah. I think she has been.
My water.
Cree coming down, Snook, do you know? Is Cree coming down? Cree.
I'm parked her
Real.
Oh, no, okay, but she goes by Cree.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, that's what most everybody calls her, so
Did not know
that's what I
that.
started calling her.
Greg, thank you very much for being here.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. That all came together very quick. That all came together very.
Oh,
I'm sorry? I don't believe Bob's gonna be here. Yeah, he sent an email. Oh,
did you see that he has this?
I just had to,
yeah,
I don't want it to run out.
in your neighborhood. Closer to her neighborhood, I guess, but it's all the same neighborhood.
Yep.
Banshee has them on video. They tried to steal his car.
That's the video that Kate put off. Yeah, I assume that's what it was.
You know, it's funny, it's coming.
Lucky he was in the way.
Alan said.
Like, coming home from fire meeting last night, like the last time, and I saw a guy running down the road with a flashlight, and he was just wearing like a regular sweatshirt, and I was like, pretty sure that guy is not out jogging because he didn't have the right attire on to be jogging. It's like, but he was running back towards town. He was below Guns at that point.
So Jackie Higgins came home from her board meeting last night. She said that there was two guys. I sent her, she said, she's not convinced it's the same two guys, but.
I only saw one.
Yeah, they were up at Dave's at 2011. And then 15 minutes later, Bob's car came down. Planning commercial. Fast.
Oh, yeah.
So they couldn't get, they tried to get it into his 3/4 ton on the truck that he sitting out there.
Into Bob's truck.
Or into Dave's truck.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Yeah, I mean,
One place it said 6 and the other place it said 6:30.
Yeah.
well, our normal meeting is,
6:30.
so, I mean, this is. That's
Right.
on our agenda, supposed to.
Are we almost starting?
What's that? We've got 4 minutes.
You around tomorrow?
Oh, I'm not gonna go that way. That could have me all wound up in
Are you able to hear us?
Oh, and the camera back on his phone because I'll end up looking at my backpack. Give me those keys.
Yes, you did.
And is this? That's what.
Any response
Thank
from
you.
Chase? Are they the only two watching?
Yeah.
I'll have to pack into one night though.
Mhm.
Weird because it's not.
You should just watch them on YouTube.
She's gonna.
Okay.
Chase, are you able to hear the audio in Google Meet?
We can hear you, Marty.
Yes, I can.
Thank you, Jace.
Can you write that in chat? Because I can't hear. Can you write?
I have this tool in my throat. It's irritating me so that.
That makes me feel a lot better.
Thank you. For some reason, oh, okay. Thank you.
Kelly, this is what we will read.
Do you want me to read it?
If you want to,
Well, I
go for it.
realized I passed it back to you, but this is the language that we think we're going with.
Okay, all right, that's cool. Yeah, when we get to that, if you want to do that, that would be good.
Go to winter coat. I'm warm. It's the only thing you can know.
Yes, turn.
Was that this, Kelly?
Oh, I got some.
Yes, but this is more, yes, that's the packet. But this is the updated.
I'll just give you, so I don't
Thank you.
trip anything up on that.
Sure.
There you go. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Gail. We got customers tonight. That's
I
cool.
know.
This is our-
Nice to have.
This is our most attended list. Ready?
No.
We'll be fine.
Yeah, that would be good.
Funny though, none of them said a lot.
Because that made the terrible comments. I even
Oh,
where they don't live in this town.
did you know that because
Hmm?
Ellen has a side of it, part of it's called, he said Rick was aware of it. This is
I don't know if you looked at this one.
part of-
I can ask him.
Seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
That's Tim Collins. Wait, it's good.
We have to. When people pick up the permits, make it clear that it needs to be seen by Rick before it can be approved. And I think that's important.
So, you know, it's just a,
It's the,
okay. So are we ready, Jess?
We're ready.
Logged in.
Okay, let's call our meeting to order. Wow, this is the most people we've had at a select board meeting yet. This is great. Thank you. Thanks for coming. We're gonna call the meeting to order. First on the agenda is any additions to the agenda. And I know that there's one just from the town plan meeting. We just had a town plan hearing and there's a resolution we need to pass. So I was gonna suggest that we add that right up front, just to any conflicts of interest to disclose that we're aware of based on the agenda. Any public comments? We have lots of folks from the public. We're going to be doing a presentation. Presumably, many folks are here to hear about the transfer station. We'll be doing a presentation on that here in just a couple of minutes. But are there any public comments not related to that?
Well, I saw on the agenda that there was, it was added that something around policing.
Yes.
So I don't know how deep that conversation is going to be, or if it's just to acknowledge
Yeah, we did put that on the agenda because obviously that's a pretty prominent thing that's come about in the last couple of weeks. It's on the agenda. Maybe if it's okay with folks, maybe we can move that up on the agenda if there's folks here to talk about that. But it's just a general update of conversations we've been having with different law enforcement entities, trying to get a public meeting to talk about law enforcement.
And I hear wearing the declaration of inclusion, and I know that was on the agenda, but I don't know if it's still on the agenda.
It is. Yes,
Yeah.
it is. Thank you, Jesse. So, any other, yes, Frank?
It's more of a question than a comment. Can you give us any information on what's happening with the bridge to the old Prior Riverside?
To the pedestrian bridge?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess we can give you kind of a general update. One of the things that one of our next steps in kind of the flood recovery is we have, I believe there's 5 sites, and I'll let the folks correct me if I'm wrong, where what we need to do is kind of look at the permanent fixes. We've done some temporary fixes. We're on the process of getting the Edwards Road back open. There's 5 different sites where we have bigger scale permanent fixes. There's culverts up on Doyle Road that were washed away. They put back temporarily. There's the pedestrian bridge. There's potentially the Maple Avenue Bridge. We're not sure about FEMA participating in that or not, but we're going to put it on the list because we actually have a grant to do the engineering from the Agency of Transportation before the flood. There is undersized culverts up on the Brook Road, just up by Nolan and the Francises, and there are possible permanent solutions on the to the slopes on the Edwards roads that we're temporarily fixing right now. Our next step is to put out a request for proposals for engineering services and work on that over the winter so that we can follow all the federal processes and everything for permit and everything, permitting, right-of-way acquisition, whatever we need to do. So that's yet to come. I don't have a timeline of when we will have the engineer on board, nor when we'll be going to construction, but those 5 things are on our list for larger scale permit fixes that we need to do in the aftermath of the flooding.
Someone was saying that you had to do an engineering study, is that correct?
Yeah, we'll need to do engineering. We've had.
Is that FEMA money or is that just?
Well, a couple of things. One, in that specific site, there's been a couple of different site visits. I know I've been at 1 or 2 of them. There's kind of a constriction in the stream there. There may be things that can be done in terms of looking at the river channel and things that need to be done. That will need to be looked at from a hydraulics engineering perspective. And of course, the new bridge would need to be engineered, and so we can get the permits and everything and follow the federal process.
I guess the only comment I would have is the snowmobile right over here is gone forever. That bridge is gone, so it's pretty good chance you'll see go down that way.
Right.
I mean, I don't know how else to get into that.
Right. Understood. Yeah. So those 5 areas are still on our radar screen in terms of permanent solutions, if you will, Frank. Did I miss anything?
The pedestrian bridge is a potential mitigation, so that it's a mitigation project for FEMA. So we're looking into eligibility for that so that possibly we can, instead of putting it back to how it was, we can get rid of the bend in the river, make the bridge a little longer so that hopefully in the future, it's not a pinch point and wouldn't be taken out again and be an issue in the future. But it all takes time, and FEMA has to do their end and see if it qualifies for that. The hope is they would give us extra money to put it back better so that it wouldn't happen again.
Any other public comments? Okay, the one thing that we were going to do is just address the resolutions in terms of the town plan. And for those that were here before, I've already read them. I'll read them again. And this is a follow-up to the town plan hearing that we had earlier this evening. And so I'll read the resolution, adoption of the Town of Chelsea 2023 Town Plan and Maps, resolution to submit 2023 Chelsea Town Plan and Maps for regional approval. Whereas the Town of Chelsea Select Board, having held the required hearing for the 2023 Town Plan and Maps and having no minor edits, to adopt the 2023 Town Plan and Maps. Whereas the town of Chelsea adopted the 2023 Chelsea Town Plan and Town Maps, be it resolved to submit the 2023 Chelsea Town Plan and Maps to Two Rivers Ottaquechee Regional Commission regional approval. Passed the 7th day of November 2023. And so that would be the resolution. If there's a motion, entertain a motion.
I move to adopt the 2023 town plan and maps as presented.
Second.
Bill second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion passed, and I will pass this down so we can all sign it and move this piece forward. I'm sorry?
Adopt the resolution.
In the resolution.
Did she put resolution in her?
I didn't say in resolution. Can I add that? Or should I?
And a motion, she's saying.
So to adopt the resolution, I think you said to adopt the town
Oh,
plan.
town plan.
To submit the Two Rivers.
Oh. To
Here, would you like to possibly revise that motion?
So, okay. I move to adopt the town of Chelsea to 2023 town plan and maps resolution to submit to Two Rivers.
Yes.
Second.
Just a second. All in favor? Oh, sorry, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, we'll pass that down. That we can get it. The next resolution associated with the town plan, determination of energy compliance resolution, town of Chelsea. Whereas the town of Chelsea submits its municipal plan adopted for 7th, 2023 to the Two Rivers Ottaquechee Regional Planning Commission for determination of energy planning compliance pursuant to 24 VSA 4352 subpart B. Whereas the town of Chelsea has included in their municipal plan the enhanced energy planning requirements pursuant to 24 VSA 4352 subpart C. Therefore, it be resolved that the legislative body for the town of Chelsea requests a determination of energy planning compliance from Two Rivers Ottaquechee Regional Commission. Passed this 7th day of November 2023. Is there a motion regarding this resolution?
I move to adopt the determination of energy compliance 2023 resolution to Two Rivers.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, there. We got that part done. So next on the agenda is transfer station presentation and discussion. I'm going to turn it over to Jesse. The idea would be that Jesse's going to, we've got a presentation to put out there. If we can, it would be great to get kind of the presentation and then do comments. But if you have a burning one that you don't think can wait, please raise your hand and we'll call on you. We'll go through it. And Jesse will go through the kind of the purpose, but I'll just kind of in summary, and I know Jesse will hit on this as well, but we looked at where we are, where we were, where we are with the budget associated with the transfer station over the last few years. And I already signed it. Thank you. And we realized that there was a deficit, and we also, you know, the expenses, and it's in here associated with it, with recycling. And also we were approached by the two folks that do the work at the transfer station in terms of looking at there being cash at the transfer station, safety, accountability, and those types of things. That's in the presentation, so I'm not going to say any more. But those were kind of the driving factors as to why we're here tonight, why we're putting this proposal out for you to react and comment on. So.
Yeah. So thank you all for coming, if you're here for the presentation or not. The goal of this is to answer questions, give you kind of a lay of what our proposed changes are, and get some feedback. We won't be making any definitive decisions tonight though, so don't walk away here thinking that we made anything finalized. So to get started, I just want to talk a little bit about what the lay of the land looks like right now at our transfer station. So currently, our only payment method is cash or check. We don't accept credit cards. As Kevin said, there's a huge risk to the amount of cash that we have available on hand at the transfer station on any given weekend. Our recycling service is free, and I put free in quotations because it comes at a cost to the town. More in our taxes. So even though we don't pay for it on disposal, we are paying for it as residents, but we allow non-residents to use our transfer station. So we as residents are kind of subsidizing the use of our recycling services to non-residents. And then also, as Kevin said, we have been operating at a deficit for at least the past 3 years. So in looking at the current lay of the land, we've identified 3 major challenges. First, safety, which given the current state of crime in our town is probably one of the most concerning challenges that we've identified. And this relates back to the amount of cash that our transfer station attendants are responsible for at the end of every Saturday, which is a huge safety concern. Second, the financial sustainability of our transfer station is really at risk right now, given that we are operating at a deficit. And then third, kind of in line with the financial sustainability, we've also identified that there are increasing expenses at our transfer station, but a stagnant revenue. So somehow we need to make all of this sustainable financially, and for the safety of our transfer station attendants. So for each challenge, I'll walk through kind of the details of the challenge, what other towns have done and the research that we've gleaned, and then discuss the proposed solution that we have. And then at the very end, there'll be time for plenty of questions and thoughts. So the first challenge, as I mentioned earlier, is the safety regarding the amount of cash, which can be upwards of thousands of dollars every Saturday. So when we looked at what other towns are doing to address this challenge, we found that there's a handful of towns that still accept cash or check, but the majority of those towns are actually operated by things like Myers or Casella, where the person who's responsible for that cash is actually a contracted individual, not a town employee. There are towns who have moved to customized trash bags, which means that residents go to a store in town, purchase a special trash bag. You have to dispose of your trash in that trash bag. The price of the trash bag covers the cost to remove that trash. It seems like an inconvenience, and a lot of the towns who have tried that give kind of glowing reviews of it. And then the last kind of resolution that we found that worked for a lot of surrounding towns is the punch card system. So in this case, you can go to a store, the town clerk's office, purchase a little card, and then each punch on the card is worth a certain value. A lot of towns around us, including Berkshire, Tunbridge, Norwich, Hartford, they've all done this, and it definitely takes a little bit of adjusting for people, but for the most part, it seems to have positive reviews. So we identified the punch card as the best solution for Chelsea. So we're proposing to end cash and check as a payment method at the transfer station starting January 1st and move towards a punch card system. There will be a transition period where people can kind of acclimate to getting used to buying punch cards, and we will still accept cash during that transition period. But after January 1st, we propose to only accept payments in the form of punch cards. These punch cards can be purchased either at the town clerk's office or Will's store. And eventually we hope to have these available on our town website as well. More to come on that. But the idea is to have 3 different punch cards available. One that's a $30 punch card, so each punch on the card is worth $3. So there's 10 punches in total. Another for $50, each punch on the card worth $5. And then a final punch card that's kind of targeted at the construction dumpster use for $100, each punch being $5. So kind of for getting rid of more expensive items, you could use the construction punch card. So in terms of kind of what that equates to for trash bag removal, you would need one of the $50 punch cards for a $5 punch to get rid of your standard 30-gallon bag. So it's like paying cash, but you just get a card that is punched. This is an example of what 1 pound's punch card looks like. So you can kind of see what the value of each punch is and the total value of the card. So aside from the safety issue, taking away cash and check from the transfer station and using a punch card system, we hope will make the transfer station a lot safer for our attendants. But we still needed to address the financial sustainability of our transfer station, which is a great resource for most of us in this room. So we looked at the financial reports provided by our town treasurer to really understand where the money was going, where we were losing money. And we found that the transfer station was at a $29,797.49 deficit in 2021. So you can see here in red at the bottom of the screen, the revenues minus the expenses, so the overall deficit from that year. Last year, we were at a $9,721.09 deficit. And then when breaking this down, we noticed that really one of the biggest contributors to that deficit is the expense of recycling. So while we collect fees for the solid waste and construction dumpsters, we don't get anything in return for the recycling. So the recycling cost is a pure loss. So you can see here that last year we spent $22,718 on recycling alone. So when we were looking at how other towns have addressed this cost of recycling, we actually learned that Tunbridge is the only town around us still offering free recycling. Other towns have moved to charging per bag. So there's a handful of towns that charge $2.50 to $3 per bag of recycling, which is not unsimilar to the cost of trash. And then there's also a handful of towns around us that have either annual recycling stickers or permits. So kind of same idea, you pay upfront once a year and then have continued access throughout the year to get rid of recycling. So instead of charging per bag, we thought that implementing an annual sticker would be the easiest way, but also kind of the most sustainable way for us to break even with that deficit. So our proposal is to require annual stickers for the use of the recycling services at the transfer station starting January 1st. So each sticker will be purchased at the beginning of the year. It'll be valid for a full year, and then you'll get a new one the next year, either by purchasing it at the town clerk's office or at Will's store. Again, we hope to have this option available on the town website at some point as well, and we will let you know when that's an option. Our pricing structure for this recycling sticker is $40 a year. So if you compare that to other towns that are charging for recycling, it equates to about less than $1 a week. So if you bring a bag or 2 bags of recycling a week, you have saved $4 to $8 compared to what other towns are charging per bag for recycling. So less than $1 a week seems pretty reasonable for a $40 sticker. So kind of breaking this back down in terms of the budget and financial report that we looked at earlier, I had mentioned that currently with free recycling services, the town pays for the recycling as a tax cost. So any non-residents who are using our free recycling services are doing this without paying for it at all. So really residents are subsidizing the cost of recycling for non-residents. The recycling stickers will still be available for non-residents to purchase if they're hoping to use our recycling services. But by allowing for people to purchase regardless of resident status, those who are using the recycling service are paying for it, which I think is equitable. Based on the town report, we have about 529 year-round non-commercial residents in Chelsea. So if we estimate that about half of the residents in town purchase a recycling sticker, at the $40 per sticker, we'll get back $9,720. So we will essentially break even on the transfer station deficit from last year, which was $9,721. If all residents of Chelsea who are using the recycling services purchase the annual sticker, we anticipate income of $21,160, which would exactly cover the cost of recycling from last year. So we don't necessarily expect to make a revenue on the recycling stickers. We just hope to cover the cost so that we don't have to roll this into taxes. And then similarly, the final challenge that we identified in looking at the budget is that we have seen increasing expenses at the transfer station over the past 3 years, but the revenue and the solid waste fees that we collect have been pretty stagnant. So when we look at the financial report again, you'll see that the construction and demolition dumpster expenses, which we're able to segregate from the municipal solid waste expenses, which is 2 lines below the construction and demolition line, has increased both from 2020 to 2021 and then 2021 to 2022. So in 2020 to 2021, we saw a 6.2% increase in the cost that we pay out for the construction and demolition dumpsters. And then 2021 to 2022, we saw a 3.5% increase in the same category of expenses. For the municipal solid waste expenses, which is like your bagged trash that goes into the other dumpster, we saw a 0.1% decrease from 2020 to 2021. So essentially no net difference. But then from 2021 to 2022, we saw an 11% increase. However, on the revenue side, the solid waste fees, which is what we charge both for the construction dumpster and for the solid waste fees, so like your household bagged trash, we actually saw a decrease from 2021 to 2022 and a slight increase from 2020 to 2021. So to kind of summarize all of that data, there's been stagnant revenue. So 1 year we saw 1% increase, the next year we saw 1% decrease, but there's a trend towards increased expenses for both years. So we've been paying more to get rid of the construction waste and the household waste, but we haven't seen an increase in revenue. So when we looked at kind of solutions and what other towns are doing, we compared our current pricing structure to that of 11 different Vermont towns. And we found that really where we differed was in the cost of mattresses and furniture. So we targeted those items, and we kind of found an average among those 11 towns, found that we were kind of short of the average, and then brought us closer to the average. So the only real difference is for 15 of the items, and it's 50 cents to $3 of kind of an increase. So in total, it's a 3.7% increase in average per item cost. So not really that much of a change, but enough to hopefully kind of bring our revenue closer to where the trend for our expenses has been going. The other kind of rationale behind the updated pricing structure is to align the pricing structure with the way that the punch cards are going to work. So we have $3 and $5 increments for the punch cards. So each of these items are set to be some equivalent of a $3 and $5 cost. And we haven't increased the cost of bagged trash in this proposal at all. So the only difference is the 65-gallon container, but the price of a 15-gallon, 30-gallon, or 45-gallon trash bag hasn't changed. So now I would like to open it up to questions, thoughts. Again, we won't be making any definitive yes or no answers or conclusions, but we are open to hearing input. Yeah.
Well, it's illegal in Vermont and not a great deal of recycling law that you have to separate it, right? You're not allowed to expect trash. Right, that's a law.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
So if someone doesn't buy a recycling sticker, buys, a punch card, are they not in compliance because they would be putting their recycling in the trash?
I mean, we can't necessarily prove that they have recycling items that are going into their trash, if that's what you're asking.
So it's an honor system, but it seems like it's kind of encouraging people to put it in the trash when they don't want to bother getting a sticker. I know, it's
Yeah.
long.
So it's, okay, so one of the things I'd like to make sure as we get started, because there's going to be a lot of questions, let's make sure we're taking one question at a time, and we'll move on to other folks if we could, just so that we kind of have an orderly process. So sorry, Snook, go ahead if you had a response. If you had a response for Sally, sorry, I just wanted to make sure. And I think there was another question back there, but I just want to make sure we're. Sure.
Right. Well, and
I've been all for this since I started here. And other ones have attempted it, this board is doing it. I think it's great. There's going to be a way to go on the now. You let me find out myself. I can't prove what I did with it. I like this. I think you guys do the right thing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
First thing you said to me is the first Saturday.
Yeah.
And we account for our money.
Sure.
So I think it's good. There's no running. It's a business. You gotta know how money comes in. You know. So.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Snook. I think Billy may have had a response.
well, I mean, one thing about people putting recycling in the trash is if they do that, realistically, they're going backwards. They're paying more for the trash than they would to buy a recycling sticker and put it in the recycling.
Was there?
What's the question about right now is on the honor system. Movies and people out there, I think that, we plan to continue that. We know time, something should change, because more authoritarian or, we're not going to be policing for the more than we are now. This is going to be based on, trusting the community to communicate with us, being a servant, and directing people when we need to.
Thank you. And I think there may have been was there a question back there?
Oh, Billy, okay.
Sorry about that. I just want to make sure everybody gets a chance. So, Susan.
Great idea, long overdue. Say it's been running at a deficit for years. It's at least a decade, if not 15 years. It's been running as Myers, Seller, or whoever we're contracting with that at the moment. I'm really doing this. Other towns have done it much less. I'm glad you're doing it. I think number one, it's a priority to keep our two transfer station employees safe. I think that's just a priority. I think that'll work. I guess my question on the $40 ticket, is that based on actual numbers of people who do use the transfer station? Has ever done a count of how many vehicles come in on a given Saturday to base that on what, how did you come up with 40? We can calculate that. It's 52 weeks a year, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But I really know that, for instance, 40% Chelsea residents actually go to the transfer station, and I don't think we do.
No.
So
Jesse,
We have,
yeah.
maybe
Can I
let.
speak to that?
no, go ahead.
Yeah, so Bill and Snook and Christine actually did a count over 2 weekends. And I think it was like 197. And it was
I should know
like
that.
probably a slower weekend. We just gauged it based on kind of what Snook and Christine have seen in the past. So it's possible that we wouldn't get a full 143, exactly what we need to make up that deficit. But I think it's a good starting point. We can collect more data and adjust it future years if we need, but it's like.
And I think my other comments would be, if we're asking Wills to be writing out, that's his employees spend the time on this. Are we compensating Wills for doing some of our administrative work?
Yeah, so I've spoke with Will about this plan. We have kind of a whole protocol for him. We are going to be providing the stickers. They will collect any form of payment, document, kind of just a name for who has it, just for our records. And then so we can keep track of numbers every year. And we will just collect a payment from him
I
once
understand
a
the
month.
workings of that, but is Will just doing this out of the kindness of his heart, that he's giving us his employees time? to do
Yes,
this?
mhm, for now. And
Okay.
we have a plan to make sure that it's sustainable for them too and working. So we'll continue to evaluate and make sure that it works across the board. But he's open to it for now, which is amazing.
Bill, did you have something you wanted to add, or?
One weekend was 144 and the other weekend was 160.
I was off.
And I think there was
A question here.
Yeah, I was just thinking about the punch card denominations of $5. Right? I know when I usually go, I'm having contractor bags. And so what happens when I usually have a 12 or an $18, it's not usually in 5s or 3s. So how does that work?
You said you have the contractor bag?
Yeah, they're $6 each.
Yeah, so we're moving to the $6. So it would be 2 $3 punches. Does that make sense?
If I have 3 bags, then that'd be $18. But that's a lot of punches. Yeah, I'm just trying to like, if I have the $5 card and not the $3 card. I like how, what happens if you come up with a combination that isn't $5 or $3 divisible?
Like on a single card, you mean like some are 3, some are 5?
Yeah. Like if I have a $12 bill, $12, that's 2 5s, but it's not a 3. Like 2 $6 bags.
Yeah, it'd be
Yeah.
4 of the 3s.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to,
And I think it'll take a little bit of troubleshooting. And I appreciate that that might be a headache for a little while. But I think other towns, I know Tunbridge does it as a $3 and $5, or 2 and 3 and 5. So I think it definitely is kind of a routine that you get into and you know how much you'll end up bringing.
I think there was, just 1 second, I think there was another hand here, maybe Jesse, and then we'll come back to you, Sally, if that's okay.
I'm curious why you're not using the punch card for recycling too, and just, rather than having a separate sticker. And also what happens if someone shows up, without a punch card, are they just gonna be turned away, or is there another way?
During the transition period, we'll accept cash. I think we would really like to not make a habit of allowing people to fall back on cash, but I think if it's truly like your first or very infrequent time that you end up not remembering your punch card, I'm sure you could work something out with Snook and just, he could offer, I'll remember it for next week and we can just punch you out for next week. We just don't want it to become a habit for some people, but we will be careful.
And at that point, he won't have money there to give change for, so it would have to be exact. So I think there will be a time of leniency, but I think at some point, we're just gonna have to trust that people are gonna get on board and buy their punch cards.
And I think the second part of your question was, why not just have a punch card for recycling as well?
Or just like charge for recycling and use the punch cards for this.
I know we talked about it. You guys want to?
Well, I just think we didn't want to overcomplicate things too much. Just having multiple punch cards and things like that.
And I think the $40 a year makes it like if you're planning to use the recycling year round at the transfer station, that's a deal compared to us charging you even just a $3 punch for a bag. So unless we were to make like $1 or a 50-cent punch card, I think just having the sticker, you can put it on your car. Snook doesn't even have to count your bags of recycling or keep track of which you put in where. I think for convenience sake, make a lot more sense.
Sally?
The sticker is something you put on your car, so what happens to a family that has more than one car? Did you get a sticker for every car?
I think my solution for people who use multiple cars would be to put it on one kind of container that you use for recycling disposal. We just request that you show up the sticker. So however best fits your needs for getting rid of recycling is fine. It doesn't have to be on a car. Some people would probably find it easier to have on a car. But just as long as you have it and can show it, doesn't even have to be stuck to something.
Go ahead, Christina.
I think we're gonna know eventually who has stickers. And I was wondering if instead of the stickers being valid for your presentation purchase, if there could be like a color system and they go on sale January 1st, they're valid for the following
We were planning that for a tense moment, but we hadn't had one. Right, yeah.
I feel like I need a hat now.
I think that's a great point. Our proposal is to have it be January 1st, that the new ones are required. So the sticker will actually say the year. So each year we'll update it so that there's no, oh, is that orange or red? Was that last year? It'll just say the year. Yeah.
And then we sticker then, like say somebody moves here mid-year, would the price of the sticker be prorated for the duration of time that they're using it?
I hadn't thought of that. But
Yeah.
that's a really good question and something we could consider on an as-need basis once we see that that becomes an issue. Yeah.
And these questions or thoughts are exactly why we decided we weren't going to make an official decision tonight, because we want to make sure we get your comments and thoughts and consider them before we approve it. Okay.
I wonder if there could be a community fund of some sort. Struggle to come up with $40 to pay for that, so that anybody could contribute to. I don't know if it could be managed. But there's just an envelope with extra cash and then people who say, I just can't afford it. I think there are a lot of people who are struggling.
Sure.
You might want to keep in mind that it's better than to have access to the sticker or the punch card than to see the trash on the side of it.
I would add to that with the punch cards too, that's asking for people to pay a lot upfront versus making a weekly contributions.
Right.
Be a very
Yeah.
helpful, even just.
Mark?
I was curious, what percentage of our deficit do you figure that we pay out of town recycling? I mean, we've been offering free recycling to other town people, but yet we have a deficit. So what percentage of that do you think is attributed to out of towners using our recycling service? And do we continue to offer them $40 or do we go with the 80? If you're out of town, you're going to use our service, we're going to have to pay more for that service. Or do we set up a vending charge for the out of town people that want to use recycling at 50 cents a bag or $1 a bag to create revenue to cover our expenses?
Your first question, I don't think we have data to say how many non-residents of the total recycling users are using our recycling for free. I think at this point, regardless of how many it is, it's rolling into our taxes. So I think the only way to have a better system for this is to have people who are paying or people who are using recycling pay for their recycling. We had looked at charging more for non-residents, but that gets more complicated with wills requiring kind of confirmation of address, confirmation of residency. It's more work on the town clerk, and there are a lot of people who live right next to the transfer station that are just across town lines who aren't technically Chelsea residents. So I think it gets pretty murky and political, and I think we were going to try just rolling out a simple plan and then addressing those kinds of changes next. Yeah.
I would think that you would have the non-residents have different colors. Not have stickers. Have two different colors. The non-residents have a different color sticker, and I think that's the problem.
Yeah, I think what I was getting at with the issue with wills, how do you, when someone comes to purchase a sticker, how do you confirm that they're a resident or non-resident? It takes documentation, a lot of record keeping. So when we're first getting into this transition, I think keeping it simple is better.
They are helping bring it in to the movie area. They're helping. You're not also. So we're doing that, and that helps in space to a point. So I don't think that we got a lot of only regular section that they do not have. And I know they do it for their pay taxes, which see that. A lot of people don't understand that money coming in, something is helping the big. So I don't think we can. Not against you. Oh, no, I just wanted to go. I know it's a self. Yeah.
It's very small because we speak to everybody personally. We try to have a personal conversation with very small number. And I don't know if they need a person to get to know who they are. And those people who are not just residents who will come in very sheepishly and ask if they can use it.
And most of them, that we get, which I think they should be coming there because if otherwise they go to church.
I think there was there a hand back there in the, I thought there might have been a hand in the back. Oh, okay. No, sorry. I'm sorry. Oh, okay. Good. Thank you. Karen?
I'm curious about how it would work for Reno Day or other events that happen where flashes.
That goes to them. So far,
Drop it off at their place.
so far we keep it down. And it goes with the fair and then they get something back from the state.
So this wouldn't
really affect.
this proposal wouldn't impact Green Up Day or anything like that, I don't believe.
And what about the festival, the art festival? If we, at the end of the day, after the art festival comes to an end, we typically meet at the transfer station. He's either waiting for us or waiting for us.
Yeah.
So it can come out of my personal account. I don't know how.
So you meet Snook now and you just pay Snook for whatever the trash is that correct?
At the end of the festival.
Yeah, so-
But I was thinking about other events that might require collection of trash at the end of the day, and then how would that?
That's what they do. If they're bringing in like uniform food,
Yeah.
when after you're done, you can just pay me whatever it is, unless they tell me it.
Right. I mean, I think we can make exceptions for certain things like that that are the events that we need to do.
Cash for that situation.
It seems like it would be on your end as a group to just go in collectively to purchase the cards, because the cards aren't like assigned to anybody.
Right.
Actually, as I was asking.
Thanks.
So,
Yep.
thank you.
Good point.
Sorry.
Was there a question over here?
It was more of a comment that I think your idea for non-residents is good, because right now they're not paying anything. Townspeople are subsidizing it, so by making them pay along with us, they are starting to pay for it, so it does start to happen. And so I agree, simple is better.
Yeah, thank you.
Kelly?
Sorry, I had a question to ask Mark. Mark, you mentioned having, excuse me, you mentioned having different colors for non-residents and residents. Can you tell me your thought process? Like, I'm pondering that. More. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Okay.
Gotcha.
No, I just wanted to,
I'm just saying, they are, and I think a lot of people.
thank you.
Frank?
This may have been addressed and I may have missed it. I spoke with Snow the other day, and I understand the safety part and all that. I've said for years that the taxpayer should subsidize them anyway. I guess my question is, how or can you police the recycling? Someone comes in with a small bag, someone comes in with a truckload. It's just a 70-odd cent for each, is that? And then if another truckload, and I'm just wondering if the bill is going to be high enough, so you'll be right back where you started.
I guess I would say there's probably a risk of that, but the risk is no different than it is now, at least we're charging $40, and some people may bring more, some people may bring less, but yeah. There's two things that I also, I'm not sure that they come up with, but I should mention. Part of this is there is a deficit, and Jesse mentioned that, but that deficit right now is being passed to every single taxpayer in the town of Chelsea, and there's a lot of folks that don't use it. There's a fair amount of folks that don't even use the dump, so that cost is being passed on to people that aren't even actually using the facility, because they're, that's coming out of our overall operating budget. So that's something where, in hopes, we're trying to get to a place where the people that are using it are providing revenue to sustain the cost of having an operating transfer station. And then there's a piece of this too, and Jesse mentioned it in terms of one year we had a significant, there's also repairs and maintenance costs as well. That's that one year where it was, substantially over. Something that we haven't talked about in detail, but something that we need to be thinking about as well is just, we're looking at trying to make sure we're breaking even. And so, we're going to continue, Jesse mentioned it, we're going to continue to monitor this, see how this works, see if it gets us to the point where we need to be. Fees are increasing. I had it here, but my eyes are bad. But, the year-over-year increase in terms of what we're paying for removal is increasing. So this is something that we're proposing, want to try, and we're going to monitor it, see what happens, and we'd likely have to make adjustments as we go, especially with a lot of logistics associated with it. Yes. So I guess the good news for me, Neil, is we're not in charge. We're not the school board. Point taken, though.
The point being, I don't see why you don't just issue a sticker to everybody at the beginning, order that item down budget.
We
Transfer station and let it go cut.
That was part of our discussion as well.
And I think part of the issue we took with that was that, as Kevin said, some people in town don't use the transfer station. Right, yeah. But I think, right.
The roads are the same way, everything's the same way. I still think that makes a lot of sense. You don't have to have all this administration.
and then we're back to the point where it's just residents paying. We're back to the situation where just residents are paying for the recycling cost, because non-residents wouldn't be paying into that on the tax bill.
Well, they wouldn't be able to use it. And we still want the transfer station to be able to be used by non-residents, because
who provide commerce
will bring revenue.
Thanks, Neil. Other comments?
Ask Neil a question.
Renters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So there's two residents saying two stickers.
Yeah.
Kelly, did you?
I'm all set, thank you.
Sally?
I just want to go back to Carrie's point about, having some sort of a fund where we can help people get the sticker if they can't afford it, because I think, I've heard quite a few people say, if I don't get a sticker, I'm not gonna recycle. And I was just like, brought up my point of like, well, it's actually illegal if you don't recycle. Not that anybody's really seeing it, but it's actually, it's illegal. So I just think it'd be good if we could come up with some way of having some sort of funding that people can contribute to make it so that this is accessible for people that find that to be something they can't afford.
Thank you.
And I also want to commend you all for I know it's a lot of research.
Thank you.
Yes,
This was very
Question.
nice. Zach. Thank you.
There's a question in the back, yes, sir.
So I think there's probably three issues here. One, as a resident in town, does not generate trash or recycling. There'll be everybody. So if they choose not to use the transfer station, that is their own decision, because they must be taking it somewhere else. They would gas at almost $4 a gallon. I don't see how we would drive out of town and get rid of that or pay for a service. That's their choice. The thing is we're still operating on an honor system. So the honest are going to be honest, and the dishonest are going to still be dishonest. I know the whole ordeal, this is a deficit you're trying to make up. I understand that you have to make some changes to do this. I think it will probably benefit the town as far as getting more revenue, but I don't see it solving all the issues we're trying to solve.
I guess I'm not understanding if there was a question in there or an issue you wanted addressed.
I know there's a deficit, and that's what you're trying to solve with this, is getting more revenue. With being the honor system, I mean, you would hope that everybody would be honest, but I don't know who doesn't create any trash. So if they're claiming it's all recycling, then I mean.
I think that's no different than where we are right now.
Yeah, you just have a punch card, you come in and say, well, it's a $3 bag. I mean, it's what you tell them, right?
Yeah, that's how we do it right now. And I don't think it would be a lot to ask someone to police that, but.
No, I'm not asking anyone to police it. I'm just saying it's still an honor system. So I don't think
right.
Make up everything just because it's a punch card. I know you have to make up something because you can't run a deficit and expect it to keep going. I don't want to haul my trash out of town. It's going to cost me more to do that. So I support your decision. I just want everybody to be aware of it.
And I think the goal of the punch card is actually more the safety issue. We don't really expect to make any extra money on the punch cards. It's more accountability and safety. Whereas we are anticipating to get the revenue out of the recycling stickers, which is what's contributing to that deficit. So we likely won't make up the full cost of recycling or even the deficit in the first year, but it will be a step towards something more than we're making right now on it. But thank you for bringing that up.
Is the compost part of it, is like, how does that work right now? It's free.
Compost is free right now. We do pay for it on the town side, so it's rolled into our taxes. We have kind of left that alone right now in targeted recycling, but it's definitely something in the back of our mind that we're paying attention to.
It's not included on any, like, how expensive is it?
It's about $2,000 a year. Yeah. No, that's okay. Significantly less than recycling, but it's still, yep. Any other questions or thoughts?
Oh, what is the cost of the punch card system and the stickers? That even covered by the deficit removal plan? Like,
You mean to purchase them?
No, I can make them and have them available. I mean, there's got to be some expense to introducing such.
Yeah, it's like cents per card. Yeah.
That's probably really awesome.
Correct, yeah, because right now we're not making anything on recycling.
You guys to be honest, and you already provided.
Yeah. Certainly.
Other questions or comments? If there aren't any, we will move on with the agenda, but as Jesse said, want to make sure we heard from folks. We will be, we're gonna move on to other items on our agenda tonight, but this will be on a future meeting agenda, whether it's the next meeting or the meeting after that, for us to kind of make a final decision on how we're moving forward so that we can get prepared for implementing on January 1st. So thank you all very much for coming, and certainly appreciate your feedback.
We're gonna move the law enforcement up.
Yeah. So next on our agenda, while we have folks here, and folks have noted that we had law enforcement on the agenda. That wasn't intended to be a lengthy discussion, but we wanted to make sure that we updated you kind of where we're at. We as a board, we've reached out to the Vermont State Police and the Orange County Sheriff. And we kind of in an email, we reached out to them and said, and then have had some subsequent conversations. Our goal is to schedule a kind of a law enforcement forum, if you will. Invite them to, right now, what we've discussed is it would be at our next board meeting on November 21st. I know there's some that have said, hey, can we do it sooner? We've got to just make sure that we coordinate with them. But we want folks to know that it's on our radar. We're moving forward. Our goal in the conversation that we intend to have, I don't have all the words for the email that we sent. We all have it, but I don't. But basically what we want to invite them to hear is to understand what resources we may have available. They may be able to offer us in town for increased law enforcement. What those resources are, those resources may cost. But also there may be things, if there's things out there that we may not have thought about as a community, or if there's certain things that they could, present and make folks aware, hey, you may want to consider doing this or that as an example. We currently have, we have a contract with Orange County, which is $12,500 a year. That does not get us a lot of service. And so that's something that I think has been, for a new board, but I think that's been fairly consistent in recent years. I'm looking at Gail, you sent me the numbers and I've forgotten Gail, but it's been fairly consistent. So we recognize the issues that are out there. We're not happy about them like everybody else in town, because it's constant. It seems like daily there's something else that's happening. So we're looking to bring law enforcement in and talk to us about what some of the issues are. Our focus is solutions moving forward, identifying those resources. We know there's a lot of things out there. We're not trying to forget about what's going on, but we want to make sure we understand what we can do as a board and make sure that the residents of the town are aware as well, so that, there's probably, I'm assuming, will likely be potential increases in what we need to put in our budget in terms of law enforcement as we move forward. So that's really kind of where we're at as a board, but we wanted to put it on the agenda, and there may be discussion that we want to have. I'll open up the board if there's anything I may have missed on the topic.
That's next meeting, right? 21st, you said?
Right, yeah. We will confirm the date of that meeting. Right now, we talked about the 21st, and I talked earlier today. Can we do it sooner? That's something we got to look into and see if we can have it happen, but we know that we want to make sure that it happens.
We're waiting for others to confirm their availability at this point.
Right. Yeah.
That's why it's the
Right.
21st tentatively.
Yeah, that's why we haven't nailed it down yet, but we will, and we'll make sure we put it out there so folks can come and learn and understand, hear firsthand from, at least from us, State Police in Orange County, kind of their thoughts and what resources might be available to us. Anything I missed? Sure, I just want to make sure that I didn't miss anything from the board perspective. Yes, sir.
So you mentioned that we have energy services. Like, what services are we getting for that?
It's honestly, it's limited patrols, and under my understanding, and Kelly, I know you've talked to Orange County as well. They're only capable of daytime patrols right now, and so the patrols that we're getting, we've got voices in here I was looking at earlier. it's an hour here and there, a couple hours here and there. I mean, that's what we're paying for. That's what, that was what the contract that was signed, I think it was last November.
And I believe the contract gives us 4 hours a week is the intention of the contract, I think. And I'm kind of pulling that off the top of my head, but I think it was for 4 hours a week.
Yeah,
You could do the math.
Well, no, that's been our conversation. I think
Yeah.
it's roughly,
But there was a period of time that we went without any patrolling at all in the town of Chelsea, and it has come back. It started maybe March, April. I think we started receiving patrols again in March or April. I'm very limited. And then last month, we did have increased patrols over the course of the last month. They've increased. But
They've been able to tell directly for each hour, which is called full hours.
yes.
yeah, yes, we have a summary. Yes.
So really, it's the state police that should be relied on if there's an issue. Is that
I think that would be what Orange County would say is basically the primary law enforcement is Vermont State Police, yes. And
911.
Right, thank you,
911.
yes. I think, we've had someone come earlier, Bob Childs came at a meeting earlier this fall and had some data. He had taken upon himself to talk to some other towns. The Windsor County Sheriff called me and said, hey, there may be opportunities there in terms of resources. So there may be other resources that we look to. Right now, Orange County and VSP are our primary providers. But depending on what we find out, there may be other options and opportunities out there that we're willing to explore. But we're kind of, and I will say as well, I actually just earlier today, I haven't connected, but I've reached out to someone I know on the Berkshire Select Board because I know there's an issue there as well. So, this is evolving. And we're going to do the best that we can to make sure that we're having the conversations we need to have so that we're informed, but that the residents of the town are informed as well as what the resources are, in anticipation that we may be increasing a budget line item, and we want to make sure that everybody's informed of what that is, what that gets us, and so that we can have a conversation about it in a public meeting.
I just thought I'd share that Martha's had some committee on law enforcement policing and options. They were looking at like a constable model with someone who's actually a certified law enforcement person in Vermont, so they might have more authority. But I guess another town to check in with that's also
Sure.
dealing with.
Thank you. That's a good point. Thank you.
Yes, we did speak to Corinne briefly. Okay. I did.
You did. Okay.
March, April, May, sometime around that, we did connect.
Any more thoughts from the board on this? Any more questions? We get it. We all get it. I know I've talked to maybe not everybody on the board, but we understand, we personally are doing things that maybe we haven't done before in terms of kind of being a little bit more vigilant, and we're taking this serious, and we're going to find out, make sure that we get information so that we can make an informed decision with residents on kind of what the next steps are.
a couple of years ago, there was a forum that I think Linda Cuban had put together with the sheriff and the state police, and there was a group of people that met at the school to talk about their concerns, and I don't know whatever happened with all that information or how. I don't know that there was ever any resolution, and
right.
I think some of the issues that we're concerned about right now are just reminders that something, I'm trying not to buy into all the fear mongering and the angst, but there's some very real things happening here.
Sure.
Quite a few people on edge. Just.
Absolutely. And go ahead, Kelly.
Sorry. So I do like research and like things. There's a lot of research that I'm just starting to dig into. That actually Orange County provided us with research from Department of Justice and how to find different things. And it was interesting is that one of the things is that this is not a new, this feels critical and feels escalating to us right now, but that this trend in our state actually started back when there was a change in how we policed when COVID happened. And that this is escalated, and this is where we are now as a result of several years of a reduced law enforcement presence throughout the state and the country. But just interesting on the research that shows how to address those different topics and how to get back out there and seeing. So, yeah.
So one thing to consider is also the whole mental health aspect of it. So Claire, what I last understood was that if we're having a mental health crisis, say in Washington County, there's a 24-hour screener connected to the police who will come to someone's home. You know, the screener can come out 24 hours and the police will support them. But we don't have that in this area unless it's changed, like maybe Clara Martin now is 24 hours. But that is an interesting thing to hold in all this, is that piece around how we are kind of in a sort of a dead zone for 24 hours in all places. So it's something to hold, to think about. I know that the meetings you were referring to, Carrie, was information-based policing meetings.
Yeah.
And I think that we talked a little bit about that aspect. And I know as a parent, as someone who went through a acute mental health phase, that I was very acutely aware of that, walking kind of mental health wouldn't come here. So that we had to have, so we did call the state police a few times, and they couldn't do as much as say screener, who then could say, this person at 3 a.m. needs to be taken to the hospital right now. So it's more like now the situation that you get talked split on the phone until 9 o'clock in the morning comes and we can talk a little bit more. So
That's a good point on the mental health aspect of it as well. I mean, I think I'll say we haven't talked about it as a board, but in my mind, let's put it all out there. You know, not just, I mean, obviously there's a huge piece of it, which is just law enforcement presence and blue lights, but there's other things as well. And that's kind of, that's what we're asking the law enforcement agencies to come and hopefully talk to us about some of those things as well. There's things that can be more immediate, but there's some of this that is just long-term. How can we start to look at and invest in all of these types of things?
And one of the something like in this is the interface with mental health and the 911 services here in town with the ambulance.
Sure.
Setting up a system, kind of looking at volunteers with cover CPR, kind of Zoom, training people who can be on call in the middle of the night to assist the ambulance team.
Sure. Thank you. Well, all good points. So I guess if there's not anything else, we'll move on to other agenda items, but please know that we are looking into it, and we will be reaching back out and letting folks know when that meeting will be. Right now, it's kind of tentative for November 21st, but we'll see. Anything else from the board? If not, I'm going to suggest that we move on. We did have, and I know Jesse's here for the declaration of inclusion. Kelly, if I think that's.
So we're going now?
Yes, unless there's any objections.
Bob Harnish is online.
Lizzie?
Okay.
Okay. So we brought forth, so actually, I think it was 3 weeks ago, we had a group of townspeople and actually individuals from other parts of the state brought forth, and they have actually been sending us information since last March on the Declaration of Inclusion, which Governor Scott has signed off on. And we've perused the website, looked at it, and we had some preliminary language last time, and now we have, we're putting this forth for, I don't think adoption's not the right word, but anyway.
You motion to approve, yes.
Motion to approve, yeah. So this is the language that we're proposing. The town of Chelsea condemns racism and welcomes all persons regardless of race, color, religion, national origin, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity and expression, age, disability, or socioeconomic status, and wants everyone to feel safe and welcome in our community. As a town, we formally condemn all discrimination in all of its forms, commit to fair and equal treatment of everyone in our community, and will strive to ensure all of our actions, policies, and operating procedures reflect this commitment. The town of Chelsea has and will continue to be a place where individuals can live freely and express their opinions.
So this is something that we will be adopting. Is there a motion?
To adopt the Declaration of Inclusion statement that were added to the statement just written.
What I just read would be the correct version.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion? And with that, I just open it up to the community as well, if there's any thoughts.
The town of Chelsea has and will continue to be a place where individuals can live freely and express their opinions.
And what if the expression of the opinion is counter to?
It's a verbal trap, you know. It's not politics, it's more like.
In other words, I get what you're trying to do, but if there's no substance or meat to this, it's almost like it's just like jargon. So what if, let's say, somebody is against inclusion and they're verbal about it, but that goes against what Chelsea is standing for. So what do we really?
So I do hear what you're trying to say. Part of our conversation 3 weeks ago was that we did not want this to just be a token statement, I guess I would say. And so we had actually talked about, that was my concern. And then we actually had individuals here who very much spoke about their willingness to step up and help this become more than something that we're just going to sign off and file away and never remember and look at it again. And I felt very much, and we actually have one of the individuals with us online here as well, felt very much that this is something that, this was a starting point for a greater conversation, I guess, would be what I would say.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, if someone does speak out and they're not in agreement with maybe what somebody else believes, is this gonna open kind of the wall?
I think, Jesse, did you have a response to that?
Maybe Robert has a few more than responses to some of these comments. What I would, I'm Jesse, I'm the director and part of our mission is to create communities where all people feel safe and welcome. You know, we have, you know, the right to free speech in America, you know, so our constitution just doesn't threat on that, you know, hate crimes, you know, well, depending on where you sit, but like you can go really far with hate speech before it becomes a crime. You know, we can look at our representative from Bennington and what she went through. There was no charges filed in that case, despite like super intense threats. So, you know, I think the bar there is already, yeah, no, it's, you know, who knows, right? We hear all these things. So, and I appreciate this idea that all ideas, you know, feelings and ideas are welcome. And I think, you know, what this creates is a place for the community to have a conversation and bring it to be something that people, you know, can not understand is that. And there's a way to have a difference of opinion and not exclude people from the community. There's a way to, you know, have that and still make sure that people feel welcome. So I think that's what this is about, and creating, you know, folks in the community who want to put some active work into, yeah, this is not easy stuff to talk about sometimes, and it's complex, and people in the community who are willing to dive into that complexity, and it needs to be, you know, uphold that value.
Thank you. Thank you.
So you stated that, what I understand is the town of Chelsea stands for inclusion. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. And if they express it, it should be done in a peaceful, non-threatening manner. And the town of Chelsea stands for inclusion, regardless of what the general opinion.
I mean, I think I'll just, my perspective in response to several of the comments is, this is a statement that the board's putting out there. I think there's a lot of, it's not a policy, it's not an ordinance, it's not something that's going to be, you know, it's going to be, we're going to be, you know, running around and policing, if you will. It's a statement about inclusion, and it is a general statement, and Ellie said, I think Jesse said it, hopefully it's the beginning of a conversation and more details to come. That's at least my perspective on it.
I just want to
Sure.
mistakes to make sure I understand right.
Yep.
And I agree with you. It's a great place to start work for now. Yes.
Excellent.
Thank you for explaining that.
Jesse, or sorry, go ahead, Greg.
No, I think that I got a little bit lost in the first part where you started listing categories and stuff. I was just wondering if you repeat it, because again, it's second or third or fourth sentence. I've heard it said.
It's like,
So I don't know if you need like the integration of the category or whatever.
I think
It seems like the more you list things, the more you keep stuff off the list. And I'd be worried that if we're going for inclusion.
That's me.
Have a list potentially excludes categories.
Good point.
Good point.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think some of the background that we talked about at our last meeting was that there are a large number of towns in Vermont who have kind of adopted this statement with like minor edits. So I think it's kind of joining forces with other towns, not necessarily that we don't agree with that being a simpler way to say that, but I think having a little bit of consistency across the board might kind of make it a stronger statement. And I think Rob was gonna unmute at one point to speak. Did you have something to say, Rob?
Just have a make sure.
Oh yeah, and do you mind introducing yourself?
Are you speaking to me?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes. The voices from the audience are a little garbled, but the voices on the select board are coming in nice and clear. Yes, my name is Bob Harnish. I'm one of the founders of the Diversity and Inclusion Initiative, and very happy to be here tonight and to witness a very good discussion. Discussion is what it's really all about, and I think someone, I think it was your board chairman, mentioned that this might be the beginning of a town-wide conversation, and that's exactly what it's meant to be about. To my mind, there's no downside whatsoever to endorsing or adopting this. As somebody said a moment ago, there are many other towns, 127 towns representing about 70% of the population of Vermont, and that have seen the wisdom in adopting this, and setting a goal for their town to begin implementation. And implementation can be something as simple as just putting the statement on the website that was read at the beginning of this discussion, and and then perhaps a framed version of the declaration, in the town clerk's office, for example, where people can see it and where it becomes subject for discussion. But I'm very, very happy to witness the discussion here tonight, because that's really what this is intended to ignite. So thank you very much, and I'll step back and answer any questions or just listen.
Great, thank you. So if there isn't any further discussion, entertain a motion.
I think we already done.
Oh, sorry, I gotta call the vote. I got confused.
I don't know.
I do it a lot, but not usually with a room full of people.
I think you opened it. to discussion.
Yes, I did open the discussion. So we'll end discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for participating in it as well. Sorry for that confusion. And I do know that and hopefully everybody stays, but people are trickling out, and I just want to say thank you for coming. This is, I think, by far the most number of people that we've had at a select board meeting, and it's awesome. It really is, and we appreciate it. So, yeah. So yeah. So we appreciate it. Next on our agenda is budget preparation, and Gail, I think what we talked about was just we need to start doing that. Sure. So Gail, just to kind of back up the timeline, just to make sure our budget needs to be completed. We joked the other day, we did it in a week and a half back in January last year, but that's not the ideal situation. But we want to have a budget completed by February 1st, January 15th. When's the? Okay, so just making sure that we need to get to the point with the budget to make sure that, so we would be having, I'm just calling up a calendar just to kind of, so look at this. If we're looking at a calendar, we would have a meeting on January 18th, and that would most likely be that's when we vote to approve the budget. Does that make sense to you? Yeah. And so in between now and then, we've got a meeting, we'd have a meeting on, I'm not very good, January 4th, December 21st, December 7th. Oh no, I'm using Thursdays, not Tuesdays.
I was just gonna say,
I was doing really well.
those numbers aren't adding up on mine.
It's falling apart. I'm falling apart now. January 16th, sorry. So January 16th, but we would have a meeting on January 2nd. We'd have one on the 19th of December, the 5th of December, and then the 25th of November. So we have 5 meetings. Yeah. So we should be sure to be dedicating time, maybe to go through where we are with this year at our next meeting on the 21st. Does that make sense? Okay. and then we'll just continue that as a topic, on every agenda between now and the January 16th. Does that? Salaries, okay. So that's one of the things that, and I'm just throwing ideas out for everybody, but you know, maybe at our meeting on the 21st, we go through, okay, where are we generally speaking with the budget this year, and identify those big areas where we may be over or under, and just kind of get a sense. And then one of the meetings in December, we could dedicate to kind of that conversation about salaries and stuff, or dedicate time to that. Okay. So maybe what we would say is our first meeting in December could kind of be that insurance, salaries, that kind of stuff. But does that make sense to folks?
Yes.
Okay. Is anything else we should be thinking about on the budget piece, Gail?
I mean, it's just a matter of getting figures.
Yeah. One thing, and I think you and I talked about it the other day, was, you know, for those of us that are liaisons to different departments, is to start that work with, you know, I see Rick's here, and, you know, we need to talk about the sewer plant. We should talk about, like, start looking at the budget and making sure we understand where we are and having those conversations. Should we be increasing that line item?
Yeah, I mean, highway wasn't.
Right. 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 But just making sure that last year we all kind of got thrown into it, and it was like, oh, okay, sure, that sounds good. But like that we're having those conversations to make sure we're supporting the different departments. What's that? I'm sorry.
I said it's been that way for a couple of years now, I mean, or midnight, you know, and that's what.
Okay. So maybe what we could say is, maybe if it makes sense, that we'd have draft department budgets by our meeting December 19th. And that gives us a couple of meetings to kind of talk about them and make sure that we're on the same page. I'm throwing dates out. If they don't make sense, just let me know.
Yeah, I mean, that's gonna be all right.
Does that give enough time? Do you want to make it sooner?
A little bit of before then.
I'm sorry?
Well, that's true. No, don't we?
Yeah,
Do we
no, that's-
It should be sooner or later, that's fine too. I'm just. Okay. Sure. And that gives us a couple of meetings to, okay.
So should we each draft what we're primary liaison for?
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, I mean, and Gail just said it, there's a couple of bigger dollar ones. But you know, I think we all, like, you know, Lane is obviously primary with Rick with roadway or with highway, but you know, I'd like to, because that's such a big one. And I think water and sewer, Kelly and I will work with Mike, and we'll just, I think the liaisons just need to make sure you're having those conversations. If there's pieces within the budget, make sure you're reaching out, you know. I don't know liaison for the town clerk, but let's make sure Karen, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding, Karen. No, but.
That's me and Karen's.
Right, so, no, but, you know, just making sure that we're doing those pieces now, so that when December 19th comes, we hopefully have the pieces in place. Anything else, Gail?
No, but I did want to mention on the orders.
Did anybody have any questions on the orders? I had gone through them. I didn't have questions. I mean, I saw some.
Reimbursement for people that they're homestead payment after they take it back.
That's those kind of 8 or 10 that you had mentioned. Okay.
The bond payment of sewer.
Saw that we put the money, sent the money to the fire district. Yeah. we paid several of the contractors for the work. For FEMA, we paid the contractor for the sidewalk work. There's a lot there. Yeah. Yeah.
Big week.
I'm sorry. Okay. So we'll put that on the agenda for the next meeting. Anything else budget wise? Rick.
Thank you, Gail.
I'm not, yeah, thank you, Gail. Rick, I'm not following you around with that leaf blower, but it seems like every road I'm on, I'm like, hey, there's Rick, there's Rick. Yeah. I found you in two kind of odd places. I'm just riding around. Anyway, what do you, just kind of general updates, Rick?
Henry Road, building slide there. AJ's gonna start there.
Okay. Do we know AJ's kind of time frame? Does he think he's got a week or two worth of work? What do you, is he?
I'm thinking like 2 to 3 days.
Okay. So just for folks that are interested and folks that might be watching, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we will have Edwards Road back open to full traffic. Yeah.
That's going back to now we're gonna try to finish our shoulders on the Eastern Road.
Okay. Rick, do you mind just coming up here? Just, I'm having trouble hearing you. Sorry. I know you don't like it, but. No, you don't have to sit back.
Coming right up
I want
front.
those people to be able to hear too, but.
No, that we're gonna do. Well, I just haven't signed it yet, that's all.
Yeah, if you don't mind, so that they can hear you. I mean, not that I don't want to that close.
That was a couple weeks ago.
We're hoping
Or
tomorrow. to do
maybe
shoulder
last
work
week.
on East Randolph Road. Hopefully we can get it done by tomorrow night. If not, we'll try Thursday if the weather is good.
Yep.
The weather. This is a proposal from Lafayette for the guardrails up on, like Raymond on the Doyle Road farm.
Oh, okay.
Did we ever find out what happened to those?
Oh, you know,
What happened?
the guardrails that were up there, Gary left them there for us to put back up and they disappeared. And nobody from the state seems to know. They went.
Well, up on
I talked
Doyle
to
Road,
Raymond.
up on Doyle Road, the state one.
Well, they called me about if we wanted them picked up,
Oh, I see.
and I called them and nobody seems to know now anything about it.
So
So,
this would be a FEMA eligible expense, obviously.
yeah, well, yeah, we need some guardrails on the culverts for winter.
Yep.
See,
So this is a proposal for $4,550 from FR Lafayette, to install standard steel beam guardrail with 6-foot posts. Do we need a motion on this?
It's above our.
Yeah, it's above our limit. So is there a motion to install the guardrail on Doyle Road for $4,550?
no, not ours is 5,000.
That's not above our limit.
Oh, 5,000 is our limit?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
That's my
So
I just figured
are there any concerns with moving forward with that, I guess? We don't officially need a motion. When's Lafayette gonna do it?
Thought in the next couple of weeks.
Really?
They're working in
Wow.
Washington. I think they finished up today.
Okay. Excellent.
Sign that.
What's up? Oh, we just. Do I have to sign here? Oh.
Yeah.
Anything else, Rick? Kind of road wise, or we talked about, you've been doing the leaf blowing, obviously. Is that kind of every road that you're hitting, or?
I'm trying to do the narrow roads that you can do much of a ditch. To keep the
ditches cleaned. No, we're not doing them all. We're not gonna have time and they're starting, they don't blow that good when you get wet, so. John did some today, but weren't the best, but.
We'll put this in for Casey to have this. Yes, or do you need that? You want that?
I gotta,
Okay.
yeah, I gotta send it back, so you
Send
send
it,
it.
send it back to Brian.
Yeah, he wanted it signed.
Um,
So we'll be doing that, and then, we gotta get our winter tires on. That's ready. We got the plow frames on, plows out. Sam's done.
Should. So in terms of getting things wrapped up for winter, you're.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna put some gravel out. They just started crushing today, so.
I was gonna say, I think, did I see the crusher go through so that
Yeah,
they'll
they
have
started
material for Edwards Road?
1:30, so I wanna put some, well, they're not gonna have inch and a quarter, so I'm gonna put 1 inch, but I gotta put some on the hook road. And then a few places here and there.
Are we putting any on Jenkins Brook? Were we putting any on Jenkins Brook?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to fatten out that where the stone is, because a lot of people have been complaining it looks like it narrowed it up. So I'm gonna try to just put it up
Couple
with
of those
stone.
little scallops there.
Yeah. That's next week's plan.
But generally speaking, in pretty good shape, being ready for winter, especially given everything you guys did.
Yeah, I mean, we got a few more culverts we gotta get fixed. We're one to do.
You do? Where are those?
Up on Pepper Road by Thorn Road. There's one there that's coming apart, and then there's one down in by Sandy Densmore's. It's gotta be changed.
Yep.
So.
Well, the work I've seen that was done with the excavator that you guys took on, Brook Road and a few other places, Edwards Road, I drove over there the other day. Looks good. Looks really good.
Well, for somebody that's never run one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I think he
all,
did great.
all things considered, and kudos to
It'll
all
do a job.
What's that?
It'll work.
Yeah. I mean, it's functional and we did the work and probably saved a lot of money by doing it. So thank you. And please pass that along to John and Paul as well.
Yeah.
His skills so that it can be more available to us in the future.
Yeah.
Told them next year we'll run for another month.
Yeah.
For practice.
Well, I noticed places like over on the Edwards Road that, that wasn't flood related, but you guys did some ditching work. So it seems like you got.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of those spots that need to be done.
Yeah.
Always another year.
Yeah. Well, thank you. That was a lot put on your plate late in the year, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else in terms of general updates, Rick? We've got a couple of permits I just want to talk
Yeah.
while you're here.
Talked to Tim Carter about.
Okay.
So
the
line road.
Yeah, so there's,
Talk to you.
yep, he called me this evening, because he didn't know if he could make it. So there's one on Blackhawk Road, for Bob Brannon.
Yep.
You've already signed off on it for the board. This is an application for a curb cut, Bob Brannon, 28 Blackhawk Road. There's a small sketch that kind of shows the property. And so it's really just a basic access
Yeah,
to the
just
property.
above Kelly's old driveway.
Right. So is any concerns or questions? And if not, is there a motion?
Only thing I told him, I have trouble getting culvert in there. There's a lot of ledge.
Gotcha. But when he does it, you'll check it out, make sure it's.
I move to approve a curb cut permit for Bob Brayman on Blackhawk Road.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, did that one. The next one is, I think Tim Carter's kind of helping Charles and Deidre Ashton out up on 9 Chelsea Line Road. I think we already approved a permit up in that area a few weeks back. I think it was the meeting I wasn't at.
Yeah.
It's a culvert. Any concerns, Rick, from you on that?
Not sure exactly where the Chelsea Cumbridge line
is exactly there, but I think the culvert will be in Chelsea.
Okay.
Access permit?
This is.
Have the house
this
in
says
Chelsea.
For
have
for a
some-
curb cut, I don't think you do. Yeah, so this is, it says application for access, it's a curb cut permit, I'm kind of wondering if.
The driveway's already there, they're gonna just
Right.
put a culvert in there.
Yes, right, so it's just,
It doesn't have a culvert now.
Okay, so it's.
I'm just.
Or the applicant, or he's just doing.
No,
the
the Ashtons are, they're his neighbors. He said to me, he says, I guess they think I know what I'm talking about for culvert, so. So he was willing to come and speak to it tonight, but he was unable to make it, so.
I move to approve the Ashton's application for culvert installation on 9 Chelsea Line Road.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, and the last thing we had on the agenda was in terms of.
I was gonna say that. I thought I forgot one again, but.
Is just, this is a form required by the Agency of Transportation for our sidewalk project. Basically just says.
Hand that over to Bill.
And I'll paraphrase. A final inspection of the project has been completed. The work on the project has been performed within the requirements of federal, state, and local laws, ordinances, and regulations applicable to the project, and is accepted by the town of Chelsea. There's a bunch of other words, but that's basically the extent of it. I've been out there, or I've walked it. It looks like it met our intent. Do you have any concerns with it?
No. Did you look at the people been complaining about the fall in front of the firehouse? Did you look at that?
Oh, in terms of.
What they're doing? Well, there's a lip like that after the first pass through there.
Yeah,
and then there's a spot with water sitting in the middle.
I haven't seen the spot where the water was sitting.
Today we got water up there and it was sitting.
I mean,
there's a low spot right in the middle.
Is it kind of on the side, within the sidewalk limits, or is it more
No,
on the
no.
fire station side? Okay, it just,
It's not
I'm trying to
really
pass a blessing.
No, yeah, it's not really down.
Yeah, I mean, Alan and I talked about it. I stopped and looked at it, and the joints where they did the various passes with, they were cool, and they didn't do it great. The craftsmanship on those joints is great. Yeah. The joints got cold. They didn't break them smooth when they went back to with the excavator, so there ends up with a lip. I mean, I'm not, there really isn't a fix to go back to do that. I don't know that it'll be a long-term issue, other than it would be nice to not have that happen. It's basically the thickness of the aggregate size of the pavement. So.
But it's on the fire department's part, not the town's part.
Basically, yeah.
I think the site is fine.
So what we need to do is we just need to, we need to sign this and send it back to the Agency of Transportation saying that, yeah, sidewalk's good, and met the requirements that we're aware of. So is there a motion to accept the sidewalk and I can sign off on it?
Move to approve the completed work of the sidewalk.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right. Anyone opposed? Excellent. Anything else, Rich?
I just wondering if I'm supposed to still do the shoveling at the town hall this winter, sidewalks. We talked about it, so.
At the end of the day, and
You okay with doing it, or good thought?
Last year when there was.
How's it, have you done it for years, or I forget?
No, I did it last year.
I did it a couple of years.
Historically, how has it been done?
Well, the sidewalks, we've been doing them for Oh, like 10 years, but
The
we
sidewalk.
never used to do the town hall stuff.
Oh, so the shoveling of the town.
Yeah, that used to be subbed out.
Yeah, he subbed it out, and then when Zeb was working at the sewer plant, he started doing them. And then we didn't have anybody do them, so I took.
Do you have a preference?
It shouldn't be bad this year because we got, you know,
Three of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're not doing two persons.
I mean, I guess, I don't want to speak for everybody. I mean, my perspective would be if you guys can and you're fully staffed and you're willing, it would seem to make sense.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's fine with me.
Unless you have concerns with doing it.
unless it's icy or something, I can't always get right there. Right. You know, that's the only thing.
Yeah.
No.
I guess for me, that's.
I mean, I know this is important, but the roads are important too. So.
Right.
Yeah. Aaron, if it's go out there and throw a little salt, if it is icy.
Yeah.
It's all under there. We're not putting it down cellar.
But
You're not gonna have to pick it up.
That's good.
I don't know where else to put it, but you don't want to pick it up out of the cellar. I can't.
Probably could have put it in over the old town garage.
I didn't do that.
I mean, if you don't have any other place you want to put them, we probably could.
Is there space in this janitor closet over here to put?
It's full.
I think it's released. You could probably find a spot over there if you want to get rid of it. Up to you.
I have any meetings during the winter. I don't think that'll bother anybody.
Well, we'll leave it there then.
You get in here. Okay, she won't. That way you don't have to lug up and be here. I just don't see any sense in putting them all the way down cellar.
No.
Just when we get talking about budget, need to probably talk about truck replacement.
Yeah, we need to come back
Get back
kind of
on
that
that.
truck plant. Yeah.
They're about 2 years out right now.
Have we had one spec'd out, or whatever they call it?
Sooner rather than later.
Sorry, Kelly.
Did you have a truck
I actually got
and had it
price from Freightliner.
spec'd out?
Spec'd out, yeah. I haven't got the plow equipment yet, but
So
I did get the truck, so.
Something for the three of us, like Rick and Lynn and I met, I don't know, April or May or maybe May. It was after sugar season. It was after mud season. We met and said, oh yeah. And we've talked about it a couple of times. So maybe before
We need to
winter
sit
hits
down.
really hard, we can sit down and just kind of, what is that plan? Because I agree with you. Yeah, I mean, we definitely, we kind of punted on it a little bit last year being
Yeah.
new, but let's get a plan so that we can put whatever we need to in the budget so that when we get to the town meeting, we can say, this is the plan. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah.
Make sense, Lena?
Yeah.
Good point.
Although, is it more pressing than that? Because isn't there one of the bigger trunk companies that you have to have your order in by a certain time, or you can't order for a whole year?
Well, I got the Freightliner. It's not till after January 1st anyways.
So we just have to get it in around the first of the year or soonish.
Plow gear is like year and a half, 2 years.
Oh my gosh.
I will be like 25 and it's 25 now.
And that's to replace balls.
So maybe we can get
We need
together
to
and
sit
just,
down sooner
you know,
rather than
one of the
later.
next couple of board meetings, maybe not the next one, but the one after, we could go through, put that on the agenda. Or should we make a note to put it on the December 5th?
We want to sit down, the three of us, and have a meeting before
Yeah,
and
that's
add it to
right.
that.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
I would suggest that.
Yeah, so the,
Anything else, Rick?
Probably, but I can't remember. So.
Well, I appreciate you being at these meetings because it's helpful to just kind of understand where we are and stuff. And certainly as we start to tackle the budget, I think we'll identify maybe those meetings where we know for sure that we want to. stuff, so. Thanks for everything. You know.
Thank you, Rick.
Thanks, Rick.
You're almost ready to plow snow. We lived through a flood. We rented next day, you know, so.
No.
Yeah, a couple more weeks anyway before we get any snow, right?
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Rick.
Yeah, have a good night.
Thanks.
See you, Rick.
Next on the agenda is Forest and Parks Commission. And the Forest and Parks Commission met, I guess, unofficially last night. There were 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I believe there was 8 folks were there. There were several missing and said they would be missing. And the group, there was a lot of good discussion, but basically the group talked about, well, should we have a separate Parks Commission and a separate Forest Commission? Should we have one and then have subcommittees? What they landed on was a recommendation of the board that we have a Forest and Parks Commission, and that as the bylaws are written, it allows for there to be subcommittees within that, where there would be some of the folks would focus on parks, and some of the folks would focus on the forest piece, but it would be under one Parks and Forest Commission. So Susan Elder had done some good background work that I was thankful for in terms of recognizing. Yes.
Not to interrupt you, but I sent somebody, I sent the board where that had been dissolved, or is that just Parks?
So that's exactly where I'm going. Good. Thank you, Karen. So, the board, the Parks Commission had been dissolved. And so my understanding is we need an ordinance and a bylaw, to reestablish the Parks and Forest Commission and then bylaws associated with it. This group is willing to take on drafting those and then bringing those back to the board. But what we need is we need a motion to officially say that we're going to reestablish a Parks and Forest Commission, and then we'll go through all the steps thereafter to make sure that we have the ordinance and the bylaws. So, and very good discussion. It was kind of a cool group of people that, you know, there's up to 11 of them, I think, that want to be engaged. You know, and some, it was very neat because some were very passionate about the commons and what to do, and some were more passionate about the town forest. So I think there's so.
Do we know the thought process behind why a previous select board dissolved?
My understanding is it was dissolved because there was a lack of interest.
Yeah, that's what the email read.
Yeah, and to which, I don't quote me, but Pete Amber said, well, I never left. You know, kind of thing, like he's still engaged, thank goodness. So, you know, and Pete actually, if folks haven't noticed, Pete has actually done a lot, not all of the work, but he's done the majority of the work. There's some trees to remove in the spring, but you know, a lot of the work has been done. So he mentioned it to me, and I made note of it today. So anyway, what we need to do as a board is a motion, if everyone agrees, to establish a Forest and Parks Commission. We will get that to them. They're going to be meeting, I believe, this first Monday in December. So
I move to reestablish a Forest and Parks Commission for the town of Chelsea.
Second.
discussion?
Yes. Are we intentionally using the word commission, committee?
That's a good point. I think that might be part of the research in terms of the ordinance and the bylaws. I believe that it's commission.
Okay, so it's always been a commission.
I believe so.
Okay, all right.
Karen, do you know otherwise?
I'm sorry, I was trying to remember.
Commission versus committee. I believe it's a,
I can't tell you. Still remember it.
I believe it, hold on.
The prior did say commission.
I mean, there's a lot of research that still needs to be done. And I'm thankful to Susan for doing that. I don't actually have it in front of me. I believe it. Go ahead.
My friend Google says the difference between committee is operates as a means of internal regulation. All of this is actually connected to legislators, but anyway, commission is an external process. But let me look and see. Committee is a group of people who meet to deliberately, a commission is a group of people who are entrusted by a government to carry out a task.
Right. Which I think is what my sense is what we're asking them to do.
So what are we ending up with?
We're getting there. I think we're ending up with Forests and Parks Commission.
So she's so far away, I can't hear her.
I believe we're ending up with Forest and Parks Commission. Is that correct? Kelly?
I think, I'm sorry, still reading, but I think so. Okay.
Okay.
Single permanent administrator has no independent or constitutional authority. Yes.
So the motion is to establish a Forest and Parks Commission.
Commission.
That's what you said.
Yes.
And I seconded.
All in favor? Yeah.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Right?
Okay. Oops, I don't vote. Said I can't vote. Anybody opposed? Cool. So we will make them aware. Maybe we can just put a note that ask Casey to make them aware, or Karen, somebody just needs to make them aware that we're good to move forward.
I'll put it in the notes, so.
Okay. Next on the agenda is the Municipal Energy Resilience Program, which is MERP, which I think we've talked about a fair amount. This is just a memorandum of agreement between the Department of Buildings and General Services and the town of Chelsea. It's basically the agreement. First of this agreement is to delineate the roles and responsibilities for parties with respect to the coordination of documentation for scope of services. And what we had agreed, we had talked about the assessments would be done on the town garage and town hall. So this is just making that official through a memorandum of understanding. Is there a motion?
Can you say it again?
Yeah.
So this is this is the memorandum of agreement between BGS, Buildings and General Services, and the town of Chelsea for the Municipal Energy Assessment Program. Municipal Energy Resilience Program, MERP. Yeah.
Document.
What's that?
I said, give her the document, she can read it.
I move to approve the memorandum of understanding between the BGS and Town of Chelsea for the Municipal Energy Resilience Program.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, sorry. Any discussion first?
Oh, yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Wow, we're rolling now. Only got a couple hours left, guys. Let me just finish. Sorry. I'll have a couple hours, I hope. Okay. Next is this is coverage. Uninsured, underinsured motorists. It's with the league. It's the League of Cities and Towns. We select two. We have the opportunity for two different levels. And I'll read them to you, and then I'll explain because Casey and I talked about this. One is on behalf of the undersigned municipality, I hereby direct the fund to provide underinsured motorist coverage with a limit of $250,000 per occurrence, which is less than the standard auto liability coverage. The coverage direction shall apply to this and future policy years unless a change in coverage limit is requested and applies to all locations and all activities of the named member. So that's one. The other is on behalf of the undersigned municipality, I hereby request the standard $10 million uninsured, underinsured motorist coverage limit and agree to the additional cost of coverage. And so Casey had asked what's the difference on the first, I'll just to make sure I'm not butchering this. There's a difference of $340. The $250,000 limit is $60. It covers all of our vehicles. The other is $400 for the $10 million worth of coverage. But when Casey asked the League of Cities and Towns, what they said was, well, for employees, that it would all be covered under their health insurance. You know, it'd be covered not unemployment.
Andrew?
Yeah, I need to get my phone on. I was almost prepared for all of this, so I wasn't. I'm going to read you what the LCT said.
I struggled to grasp this.
I did grasp it. I just need to find, here we go. So here's the email from VLCT. All members have had $250,000 coverage since 1997. Prior to that, it matched the auto liability limit, which was $2 million back then. The passive board, which is the insurance board, voted to reduce it back then because they looked at frequency, severity, and types of these claims and felt that $250,000 was adequate. Typically, these are in conjunction with a workers' comp claim. That's where I was missing. Workers' comp claim, and this coverage isn't needed for injuries because those are covered by workers' comp, and the property damage is covered by auto physical damage coverage. That ensures motorist coverage can cover minor property damage in some instances, like hit and runs, but only up to $10,000 per occurrence. We were told, and then this is from Kelly, the underwriting supervisor at VLCT, we were told that at this time we need to have written direction from every member advising us if they wish to remain within the $250,000 limit or increase to match the current auto liability of $10 million. The current limit of $250,000 is about $60, give or take, and to increase to the $10 million would be approximately $400. So basically the $250,000 is what we have and have had. $10 million just the other just increases it. So, but sounds like normally this wouldn't even be a conversation, but somebody has told them that they need to ask the question. I will say that in my conversation with Casey and I, we kind of, I think, reached the point where the coverage that we have seems appropriate.
That's how I'm feeling.
I think that we stick with what we have.
Is there a motion?
Move to continue with the $250,000 coverage.
I second it.
Facing that way.
I'm sorry?
I,
The 250,000. Is there discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay.
Oh, okay.
Has passed. Okay, that one's done.
Print and sign, just like you did. Good.
Next on the agenda is town report. And not too early to be thinking about it. Casey and I had a brief conversation. Hopefully, if you watch the meeting afterwards, I will capture our conversation correctly. Sign this. So I think, as we all know, and what I'm about to say I'm not trying to minimize the amount of work or hopefully capture the basics associated with the town report. Karen, hopefully if I'm not getting this right, you've been around and you can help correct me, but there's several major components to the town report. One is getting the reports in from all the different committees, commissions, and everything else. And the other is the budget as the primary pieces. My conversation with Casey was that she would not mind working with us to send the requests out to make sure that the different entities, the Prudential Committee, the fire department, whoever needs to do a report does the report. And kind of help us taskmaster to make sure those come in. There's the component of the budget. I didn't talk to Gail about this, but there's a component of the budget, which is just the budget. We got to get it together. There will be things like the cover, and there may be, Karen, I'm assuming like births, deaths, marriages, that kind of stuff. You provide that information. So there's just kind of a shepherding piece of it to get all of the information in. There's obviously a formatting piece, which I'm not sure how that works with the printer and that kind of stuff. I'm not minimizing. There is a fair amount of work there. There is going to be a gap, I think, in terms of getting to the point where we have all the reports in, we got the budget done, we've got all the information, where we need to find someone that would help us put it all together to send off to the printers. And we currently don't have that person. On our agenda tonight is, I think, to talk about the administrative side of things in the position, which if we get to the point where we have that person, that's the person we turn to say, right, there you go. So it may not be that we have to make a decision tonight, but we wanted to make sure we talked about it.
I think I'm sorry, I think I said to you, Kevin, that I was going to call Casey and ask her for the electronic copy of what we said last year. Couldn't I say that?
I don't remember.
Okay, that's kind of you to say you don't remember. I remember that I said that to you a couple of nights ago and I did not send an email, but
Okay.
I will do that because I'd like to actually see what the format is that we hand over.
She was going.
Casey's willing to help get the information, but she doesn't want to do the.
Yeah,
actual
well, I mean,
putting it together.
in fairness to Casey, I think there's a piece of this, which is she's starting the FEMA documentation piece.
Oh, I
so
know.
those pieces, like Kate, whoops, I'm sorry.
Karen has the electronic.
Last year, I have the electronic copy. Well,
Can you just
they send us one because that's how we have to send it to the Secretary of State's archives.
Fantastic. Can you just send that to me tomorrow?
Okay.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Thanks.
You were looking for one.
No, I didn't know where to find one. Yeah, thank you.
Perfect. So it's just something I think put on a radar screen. I'll be talking to Casey. I don't mind asking her, but one of the things that I think we just kick off sooner than later is saying, hey, and I think that we as board members can kind of start to parse out the pieces that it's not like, oh, maybe do we have a liaison to the cemetery commission? I can't even remember. But if we do, like, I just say that because Frank's here, but like, yeah, I saw Frank tonight, but like, I think we as a board just need to kind of make sure
The
that.
Cemetery Commissioner, I could tell Frank we need that.
Right, exactly. So there you go.
Thank
So
you.
It's just, Billy, if you could, get the,
I talked to Frank about it tonight.
Kelly talked to her tonight too. So there we go. If you could get the Prudential Committee to do their report, Bill, that'd be great. No, but it's things like that. Actually, I think the fire department, Prudential Committee have done the bad ones in the last couple of years, but that's the kind of stuff I think that just causes stress. So the sooner we can, right?
Well, and I think, and I say this because I've utilized this method occasionally in my own life, that you turn things in when you can at the last minute. And I think, if we give a deadline at the very last minute, right, that's when it's going to be. And I'm just wondering if there's a way to sort of request things sooner so that it's.
I was talking to trustee from the library and they were asking and I was like, sooner the better.
Yeah.
But I can get you a date. So do we want to try to set a date?
I think so. I had intended to before tonight actually go back to the timeline because there was that Marianne had provided some pretty good timeline last year. And I think we should go back to it. But I think if we're starting our conversations, I would say, let's see, can we have your report by mid-December? Can we have it before Christmas? I mean,
Last year, we sent an email out to many departments, as you could, requesting they had them by certain dates. But if you just want it on one deadline, that already is an email, we can just have it sent again.
Perfect. Do you mind working with Casey on that? And I would be interested, maybe you can send it to all of us just for our awareness so that we can start to, you know, I'm on the Prudential Committee. I can say, hey, we're not going to wait and give the report on February 1st like we did last year.
I remember she had left, then that process was ongoing. So one of the things I was doing, sending that email out to people.
So we'll just leave that as an ongoing agenda item. But if you don't mind, Karen, we can, does that make sense to everybody?
Ongoing.
Mhm.
Okay.
So it's like it's gonna be an ongoing agenda item.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, for just things we'll come to future meeting agenda items, but I've got a list of a few things here. We have approval of the October 30 meeting minutes on the agenda.
I move to approve the October 30th meeting minutes.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Excellent. Thank you. Karen, you had provided, you would put in here the October 17th, but I think we'll just put that on the agenda for our next meeting.
Did I have it really written?
Oh, okay.
Those,
All right.
that's just
Back to
like.
this up Karen or
what was drafted
this is-
on the meeting. It's all that's been
Here for- we should probably file it.
And they want a copy of that frame to go into the town hall as well. So should we put a side note on that?
I'll be going over.
Or town clerk's office.
Right.
He asked that we do a copy of that and frame it and put it in the town clerk's office.
Yeah, the Declaration of Inclusion. If you don't mind, Karen, just for the minutes, just so that, or ask him,
Want me to send it to you electronically, Karen?
To me too for the website. Oh.
do we want
I'm sorry?
the signed copy?
Oh, okay. I thought you were gonna have to type it up to include it in the minutes. No?
No, I was just asking her to include in the minutes that it just says that we're gonna frame it and put it.
To include it.
Yeah, sorry. That was my suggestion.
Sure. Okay, I'll get a frame.
We actually, can we completely type it up then because we hand wrote in?
Yeah,
So,
I was gonna suggest maybe we pretty it up and we can re-sign it.
Sure.
And it can have lines and we can just sign it again. It's been.
Thank you.
At our next meeting, to make it look a little,
Yeah.
a little less seventh grade.
yes.
Sure. Next on the agenda, orders. There are a lot of them. I think we've all gone through them. Gail gave us a summary. Is there a motion?
Move to approve orders.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
I,
Anyone opposed?
They did, Orange County did correct did you see that?
Well, I did because I followed up with them and you had followed up with them.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Like, we already gave that to Bill. I'm sorry.
Next
It's on my
on,
list.
next on the agenda is the admin position.
have we gotten a job description written up for that?
Not completed. So I would suggest that that's something that, and Kelly and I did talk about this was on our plate, so we come back to the next meeting with that draft job description. Probably send it out in advance.
Do we need to come back here for the draft?
Actually, I don't know that we have to.
No,
I
I thought,
think everybody said we're good, so
Yeah.
we just need to finish it.
yes.
Okay, so Kelly's gonna finish it.
When do we want to start running an ad to that position?
I would like it to go in next week. But in Um, we're gonna look into Vermont Department of Labor's website, Vermont Lakes, Cities and Towns.
Cities and towns,
We
yeah.
talked about the Upper Valley and the Randolph, so that we,
Multiple, okay.
Yeah, and so we may be spending a little bit of money on advertisement, but
That's a good
if
idea. though.
everybody agrees, let's get this as broad as we can.
Yeah.
Who's writing the ad? And then
Oh, wait, we're on camera. That's not how we're supposed to make decisions.
Just for follow-up, I think they're gonna go ahead and.
energetic, dynamic, what would you like for? Like,
Yeah.
Right.
So I
That's
think
right. Whatever gets.
by our next meeting, we'll have that out. And I'll work with
Absolutely,
you.
yes.
You guys had asked Kelly and I to do it. We just.
Well, I just didn't know if Kelly needed help because she and I are the joint liaisons for sort of the personnel, so I didn't know if you wanted help with that or if you.
Well, how about I send you drafts and stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else on that one? We had executive session on here if necessary. I don't, we have any items for executive session.
I don't have anything.
I'm sorry, Bill.
I don't have anything.
Next on the agenda,
Move to adjourn.
is there a motion to adjourn? Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Right.
Anyone opposed? You know, I just looked at my watch and it seems really